ancient and sacred psychoactive plants and sacred medicine in ancient Greece. So am I able to move this cursor down, or are you going to be moving that?
I'll be doing it further. You just I'll change the slide.
Just tell him when you want him to.
Okay, you can start going down my slides. Okay, my introduction. Indigenous civilizations around the world have long utilized psychoactive herbs, plants, and have the ability to change perception, mood, and consciousness. These herbs are well known for their capacity to affect the mind and soul, frequently offering therapeutic advantages that go beyond physical well-being. Today, the usage of psychotropic plants provides a natural and comprehensive way to enhance well-being and promote spiritual development in a society where mental health is becoming more and more important. In ancient Greece, in a period before medicine was purely physical or biochemical, well, we have to go to the next slide, please. Or maybe, okay. Next slide, okay. The most direct route to reaching information, the true reasons why disease was present, this is in ancient Greece, and achieving health was found to go through rituals which were taking place in the Asclepios temples, known as Asclepia. These were more than just temples. They functioned as early hospitals and holistic treatment approaches, including dream interpretation, incubation, herbal remedies, bathing, and surgeries. The most famous Asclepia were located at Epidaurus, Pergamon, Kos, and Athens. In this presentation, I will focus on what is known about these rituals and the plants and substances that were involved in the ancient healing tradition of dream incubation. Next slide, please. Hallucinogens are, okay. Hallucinogens are substances that provoke false sensations or distort perception of the environment without causing loss of consciousness when taken in normal non-toxic doses. They are also known as entheogens, substances that stimulate mysticism or divine communication. Numerous cultures have used these substances throughout history, and at present, many different ethnic groups still take part of rituals associated with the use of entheogenic plants. For example, mescaline and psilocybin-rich mushrooms are used by a number of Mesoamerican cultures. Amanita muscaria and ephedra were once used in inter-European religious rites. They were probably included among the ingredients of soma, the sacred drink in the Rig Veda, and haoma, used in ancient Zoroastrian religion. In the archaic period in Greece, poppies, cannabis, and other plants such as henbane or belladonna were used for ritual and medicinal purposes. Ancient Greek medicine was to a large extent theurgic medicine. In theurgical medicine, the cure for sickness was peculiar to gods, at first to all gods, mostly to Apollo and Artemis. Later healing art had its own god, Asclepios. In the temples of Asclepios, the Asclepia, prayers, sacrifices, offerings, and magical rituals began to be associated with medical, practical exercise and rational therapeutic systems. Rational Hippocratic medicine found some places in the city's Via Tria. Although rational secular medicine, for instance, medicine founded on clinical observation and on the exploration of the natural causes of diseases, prevailed in Greece as late as the 4th century BC. Testimonies of theurgical medicine survive in temples dedicated to the gods of medicine, for instance, Amphitrios and Asclepios. Various references point to extended use in Greece of different psychoactive plants during the Archaic period. Opium was used to induce somnolence in the incubation rituals practiced in the temples of Asclepios. Nepenthe, described by Homer in the Odyssey, was probably an opium-based preparation. Opium had been introduced to the Greeks by way of Egypt. On Crete, a Minoan shrine, 1300 BCE, dedicated to the poppy goddess of fertility and health, as discovered in the village of Gazi. Numerous golden seals from Mycenae and Boeotia show images of states of ecstasy associated with poppy consumption. Initiates in the Eleusinian mysteries, 1500 BCE to the 4th century CE, took Kikeon, a psychoactive secret potion. It is thought that Kikeon contained hallucinogenic substances that induced visions and the state of ecstasy associated with the mysteries of rye ergot, rye ergot, which contains lysergic acid amides, may have been one of the ingredients of the drink. Next slide, please. Asclepios, the god of medicine, and the Asclepia. In Greek mythology, Asclepios was revered as the god of medicine, the son of Apollo, and the moral woman Coronis. Asclepios possessed the gift of healing. Further down, please. Apollo was considered an oracular god, and a major temple was dedicated to him in his sanctuary at Delphi, where the Pythia, or oracle, revealed her visions or predictions of the future. Apollo had the power to summon illnesses in the form of plagues and also to cure them. The figure of Asclepios was venerated in ancient Greek medicine, and his successors practiced his art in a network of sanctuaries and healing temples named Asclepia. Temples were often located near a spring or river, whose waters are said to have medicinal powers. The shrine of Asclepios in Epidaurus was probably the most important during this period. Other major shrines were located at Kos, Knidos, and Pergamon. Next slide, please. With these healing temples, the sick made a series of offerings and sacrifices to Asclepios and underwent rituals including 1-day fasts, 3 days of abstinence from wine, baths, and massages. The different buildings in the healing temple contained areas of physical exercise and special rooms for the sick. After finishing their purification rites, the sick were led to the abaton, or incubation chamber, where they would participate in a practice called dream incubation. Asclepios would appear to a fortunate few in their dreams and cure them by touching the ailing part of their body. Next slide, please. On other occasions, Asclepios appeared in the dreams of the sick and informed them of what was causing their distress, or provided a list of remedies that they should take upon waking. Many inscriptions show clinical cases solved with the aid of the physician god, who acts during the dream, which is an essential component in classical medicine and art of the medical treatment. In reference to this, I want to say there is a psychologist by the name of Edward Tick that takes soldiers who are veterans from the different wars to Greece every year for the past 25 years and does the incubations there in Epidaurus, the main Asclepion that they used in ancient times. And a lot of these veterans that have taken drugs and they have not been healed, they go through really amazing healings. And he has written a few books on the subject, if anyone wants to know about it. And I know him personally too. But when we call the aid of the Holy or the Spirit, we are getting healing because we connect. We go further down. Ancient medicine was based on mythological beliefs and the idea that human beings were inferior to divine power. Sickness was interpreted as punishment by the gods, and such punishment could either be collective plagues or individuals' leprosy, blindness, insanity. Some sick people might be possessed by a malignant spirit or demon, or as in case of epilepsy, suffer from the effect of a curse. This was on theurgic medicine. Theurgic medicine in ancient Greece was magical in nature and concerned with both prognosis and prevention. It also made use of a number of rituals. Health and diseases were attributed to the gods and the demons. Can we go further down? Next slide. I missed a few things, but I want to have more time. So while use of healing temples was on the rise, botanical remedies for treating wounds were also being developed. Homer's Iliad contains a remarkable large anatomical vocabulary with more than 150 words. In the Iliad, Homer relates to Achilles, treats and bandages the wounded arm of his friend Patroclus, which indicates a certain familiarity with techniques for treating war wounds. Later on in the 6th century BC, secular schools of medicine began to be founded, which distanced themselves from the temples of Asclepios and their magical and spiritual approach. This was the birth of pre-Socratic and pre-Hippocratic medicine, which was further developed at the schools of Cnidos and Kos. These schools began using a scientific approach to analyzing symptoms, formulating the diagnosis, determining the prognosis, and prescribing treatment. These medical schools, which update Hippocrates, would come to recognize that not all illnesses are curable and that no doctor can turn aside faith. Next slide, please. So you can go over this particular slide on your own, but I would like to go further down to start with the herbs. Okay. Thank you. So one of the herbs that they used was the opium poppy, which is an annual herbaceous plant found throughout the entire Mediterranean region. This mature encapsulated fruit, and its sap contains a high concentration of alkaloids. The effects of opium are many due to its principal alkaloid morphine, which produces a sense of euphoria, happiness, and well-being, while at the same time lessening pain and inducing a state of drowsy contentment. Opium poppy consumption may cause nausea, vomiting, constipation, and headaches as side effects. Users may also develop a tolerance and experience physical dependence. Next slide, please. We have the poppy here. Homer's writing referred to the effects of a number of filters and potions made from different ingredients dissolved in wine. Nestor's drink in the Iliad and the Nepenthe referred to in the Odyssey both fit this description. In the Hippocratic treatises, Hippocrates recommends using poppy juice to treat a number of complaints, including leucorrhea and dropsy and of the womb. He indicates poppy ointment for treating eye problems. In the 3rd century BCE, members of the empiric school were deeply interested in psychoactive plants and used opium to lessen pain and induce sleep. In this way, poppy juice made a name for itself as protective medicine. I remember that my grandmother, for my sister, she was giving, when she was kind of, the little baby was crying, she was making poppy, using poppy seeds and making a tea out of it, and that would calm the baby. So they're still using the poppies in Greece today for the little ones, the seeds. In the 2nd century BCE in Pergamum, Nicander of Colophon described the drug toxicity and calculated its lethal dosage. In classical Greeks, the opium poppy was used for sacred and profane ends, and it had both medicinal and nutritional properties. Sorry. So Greeks associated fertility and abundance with the poppy, which in turn was associated with the goddess Demeter, the goddess of agriculture. Next slide, please. Another herb they were using was cannabis. Hemp or cannabis sativa has been used since antiquity by making cloth, foodstuffs from the seeds, and psychotropic resins for any combination of medical, ritual, or spiritual purposes. Archaeological and anthropobotanical evidence shows that it has been used for more than 5,000 years. Cannabis is made up of more than 400 alkaloids and substances extracted from cannabis sativa. Some 60 compounds called cannabinoids act on the cannabinergic system. The most abundant are D9, THC, cannabidiol, and cannabinol. We have the plants here further down. Smoking cannabis is a relatively inefficient delivery method, since 70% of the D9 THC is destroyed by pyrolysis. Historically, the oral route of administration was the most common. Orally, ingested cannabinoids are heavily metabolized at first, and as a result, only 10% to 20% of the dose taken orally actually reaches systemic circulation. The clinical peak effect is reached in 1 or 2 hours after oral administration, and the effect lasts 4 to 6 hours. Delivery by the respiratory route has an almost instantaneous effect that is perceived within seconds. Cannabis has a euphoric and relaxing effect, although it may also cause sensations of panic and anxiety the first time or times it is consumed. In high doses, it can cause changes in temporal perception and orientation, intensify sensory experiences, and decrease attention reaction time and motor abilities. I remember a lot of parents have brought to my clinic their children. They were studying in high school and they started taking cannabis, and then they had bad results from taking cannabis, fear and panic attacks and a lot of anxiety. And I used a reverse program with a cannabis plant in my bioenergetic device, which is a German device. I've been using this method for about 25 years. And the imprint of the cannabis ampule went through the body with the resonance of the patient, and they got rid of their problem, which was pretty fast. I would say that would be the future of medicine with devices like this. Next slide, please. So, physiological changes due to the cannabis intoxication include tachycardia and postural hypotension. However, the overall toxicity of cannabis is relatively low due to the short duration of its effect. In the 5th century BC, Herodotus wrote that inhaling cannabis smoke was a custom among Scythians and Massagetians of the steppes in purification rites held after the death of a member of the group. In his treatise, Geography, Strabo mentions those who walk in smoke, referring the guitar dancers and burned cannabis flowers to reach states of ecstasy. Dioscorides, on the other hand, made no mention of its psychoactive properties. Instead, he records its use as a remedy for earache purpose. Galen repeats Dioscorides' advice for otalgia and remarks on the intoxicating properties of the seeds. He states that some people, we go further down. We missed that. So Claviceps purpurea and the Eleusinian mysteries. The Eleusinian mysteries were some of the most famous religious rites of ancient Greece, in addition to being some of the most secretive. They were celebrated during nearly 2 millennia, from 1500 BC and 4th century. In the city of Eleusis, near Athens, participants honored the goddess Demeter and recalled the abduction of her daughter Persephone by Hades, the god of the underworld. That's a general view of the sanctuary. Next slide, please, where the initiation was taking place in Eleusis. During the celebration of the greater mysteries, pilgrims journeyed from Athens to Eleusis and participated in a nighttime ceremony involving drinking kikeon, a specially prepared hallucinogenic beverage. Participants who experienced marvelous visions were known as epoptei, or beholders. Famous figures including Aristotle, Plato, Sophocles, Pausanias, and Pindaros participated in the Eleusinian mysteries. Public sacrifices, rites, and purification ceremonies were performed during the procession associated with the Eleusinian mysteries. That's the archaeological site here. Next slide, please. When the procession arrived in Eleusis, initiates fasted for a day to commemorate the fast of Demeter while she searched for Persephone. This fast was only broken to take Kikeon. The Eleusinian mystery ceremony, the most secret part of the mysteries, was celebrated in the great hall called the Telesterion on the night of the holiest day. Initiates participated in the visionary mystery only once in a lifetime and were forbidden to reveal the content of the ceremony under pain or death. Kikeon was regarded as a secret potion that the enlightened ones were to take before initiation. It is thought that Kikeon may have contained hallucinogenic substances that induced visions and the state of ecstasy associated with the Eleusinian mysteries. By this method, initiates would enter a trance state, which was exacerbated by fasting and the preceding rituals. Kikeon was a mixture of several ingredients, including water, pennyroyal, and barley. The main ingredient was barley flour, which Hippocrates described as having nutritional alimentary properties. Next slide, please. Hoffman, Wasson, and Rusk advanced the hypothesis that the Eleusinian state of ecstasy was provoked by alkaloids found in the ergot fungus, which contaminated the grains of barley. The ergot fungus, Claviceps purpurea, parasitizes cereals in the Mediterranean region. It contains a wide variety of pharmacological active substances, including more than 40 ergot alkaloids. An initiate could probably see his first visions after ingesting an infusion of cereals contained by ergot. It is believed that Eleusinian priests gathered ergot from cereals and paspalum grasses growing near the temple, ground it, and added it to the Kikeon. Next slide, please. Many other psychoactive agents have been proposed as a significant element of Kikeon without consensus or conclusive evidence. Psychoactive mushrooms are another candidate. Scholars such as Robert Graves and Terence McKenna speculate that the mysteries were focused around a variety of psilocybe. Other entheogenic fungi, such as Amanita muscaria, have also been suggested. Another candidate for the psychoactive drug is an opioid derived from the poppy. The cult of the goddess Demeter may have brought the poppy from Crete to Eleusis. It is certain that opium was produced in Crete. Next slide, please. Other psychotropic plants, in addition to poppies, hemp and ergot, the ancient Greeks burned mandrake and henbane as incense, and infusions of hemp and myrrh in Retsina wine were used to add sparkle to social gatherings. Classical authors such as Dioscorides described various formulas involving wine and mandrake, belladonna, African rue, or black hellebore. Mandrake is native to the Mediterranean region. It's a perennial herb with a large root of poisonous fruits. One of the oldest references to mandrake is from the Bible and probably dates to 4000 BC. Because mandrakes contain deliriant hallucinogenic tropane alkaloids, and the shape of the root often resembles human figures, they have been associated with magic rituals throughout history, including present-day contemporary pagan traditions. All species of mandragora contain highly biological active alkaloids. The alkaloids make the plant, in particular the root and leaves, poisonous via anticholinergic, hallucinogenic, and hypnotic effects. Next slide, please. Anticholinergic properties can lead to asphyxiation. Accidental poisoning is not uncommon. Ingesting mandrake root is likely to have other adverse effects such as vomiting and diarrhea. The alkaloid concentration varies between plant samples. Clinical reports of the effect of consumption of Mediterranean mandrake include severe symptoms similar to those of atropine poisoning. These include blurred vision, dilation of the pupils, dryness of the mouth, difficulty in urinating, dizziness, headache, vomiting, blushing, and a rapid heart rate. Here's mandrake. And look at the root, it looks like a human being. Okay, we go further down. Next slide, please. I'm almost done here. Next slide, please. So henbane was used by Assyrian and Babylonian priests as a powerful hallucinogen. In Greece, treatises written by Xenophon and Dioscorides refer to its intoxicating properties. Dioscorides, first century AD, claimed henbane as a sedative, which it is given in small doses, effective in treating mania and madness. Pliny condemned henbane as an intoxicant. Through controversy, it was a remedy for too much wine as well. Further down, please, next slide. So the genus Hyoscyamus consists about 20 species, and all of them contain powerful narcotic tropane alkaloids. The physical and psychological reaction to henbane was similar to other members of the Solanaceae, containing stramonium and belladonna alkaloids. Loss of muscular control, dilation of the pupils, heart palpitations and hallucinations, delirium, madness, and in large doses, coma and death. The most commonly used magical and medicinal species in Europe were Hyoscyamus niger, black henbane, and Hyoscyamus albus, yellow or white henbane. In ancient Greece, it was considered a sacred plant to Apollo, and henbane was mixed with other herbs and used ritualistically to induce a hallucinatory or trance-like state of madness to commune with the divine. Henbane was one of the most important analgesic medicines of antiquity. It was used as a sedative and calming agent, as well as treatment for various forms of madness. Next slide, please. So here we see henbane. We can read the slide afterwards. You can read it on your own. Let's go further down, because I don't want to take more time. So then the Apollonian rites were used psychoactive plants. And the psychoactive plants were used at the Oracle of Delphi. And it produced a trance state. And we don't really know how they used it. The soothsayer, let's say, Pythia, the oracle, we don't know whether she was chewing it or burning it and smelling it. And then she would come out with information for anyone that went there to get an answer to their question. Next slide, please. Plato and Aristotle describe delirium in a Pythia, and the Stoics point to a state of near rapture called enthusiasmos. It is believed by many authors that the Oracle of Delphi consumed some sort of psychotropic substance. Some authors have suggested that apart from the fact that she chewed bay leaves, she also consumed a preparation containing opium. Here's the Oracle Pythia. Next slide. There were different rites, so they used the henbane, and the oracle they used it in the oracle. So we go further down, they perhaps inhaled it, or we don't know, maybe the vapors from the smoke, or something was coming. They had put it under the ground where the Pythia was sitting, and the fumes were going up, and she was going into the intoxicating, way of bringing forth information from being intoxicated with this substance. Next slide, please. Then there were the Dionysian rites. We had a lot of rites in ancient Greece, so you could read on this too, from Dionysus, the god of ecstasy. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide, please. So the promise of psychedelic substances in modern medicine. As we make strides to understanding how these compounds have an effect on our brains, we move closer to the use of them in our medical treatments. Psychedelics have been used as healing substances in the past and could see a revival as a tool in a doctor's kit. While their ancient purpose was mainly that of healing the spirit, science has made progress in the use of hallucinogens in treating the mind, mainly in the areas of depression and PTSD. As psychedelics enter a revolution in medicine, their therapeutic uses become more and more studied. Research in this field could lead to an entirely new world of mental health drugs, while also reducing the stigma that psychedelic substances have been imprisoned in. So there's many books and research that has been going on this. Next slide. So this is the sanctuary of Asclepios in the famous place, the island of Kos, where Hippocrates was there and treating his patients. And recently they had a big happening in the Asclepion where many doctors came to take the Hippocratic oath from different parts of the world. Like about a month ago, this happened. However, a lot of doctors don't adhere to the Hippocratic oath anymore. Even the Greeks themselves don't swear on the Hippocratic oath in Greece. But luckily, the Turks across the ocean, across the Aegean, really pay homage to Hippocrates and his oath. Thank you so very much for your attention.